Morning, everyone. It's good to see everyone this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now in the hands of Ms. Lisa Lambert.
This is the pre-meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, May 7th. We have approval of minutes from April 23rd and April 30th.
Any issues, anyone? Okay.
Appeals, we have request for waiver of the noise ordinance on May the 11th from 3 p.m. until 9 p.m. on Dolphin Street. May 26th from 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. on South Broad Street. June 14th from 5 p.m. until 10 p.m. in Bienville Square. June the 29th from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. at the James Seals Community Center. May the 11th from 5 p.m. until 10 p.m. on Aaron Drive South. 9.
Any issue, Councilman Carroll? Okay.
Mr. President,
Mr. Penn.
I know right now I don't have anything on this particular for appeals, but I have received some concerns about a event that's take place on like every, I think, first Fridays of the month, and I was trying to see have we received any calls regarding this event. It's the audio event right there on Spring Hill going on I-65. Can we check into that and see if we already checked into it? Okay, because all right, thank you.
Public hearings. Today is a public hearing to rezone property located at 7701, 7705, 7709, 7621, 7631 Old Government Street Road from R1 to R3. Oh, council's not here. Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Matt Armbruster provided, an update on Ransom Ministries. Lori Hunter asked about the future of affordable housing in Mobile. Estella Trotter comments about establishing affordable and low-income housing in Mobile. John Robb, follow up on the Minikin report as it relates to the Mobile Tree Commission. Reverend Tony Allgood, comments about the expenditures under the city's budget. Sabrina Mass requests answers on why Paul Prine was terminated. Will he be included on who will investigate why the mayor is so powerful over the council, why the council violating the Zybe Act. Mary Lou Peak speak in support of the mayor and benefits that the current administration has. Jim Walker, the Downtown Alliance. Reggie Hill, fitness for duty, release claims, council rules.
Chief Barber, is it possible that we can probably have someone like Jamie Roberts or someone from his department to address the concerns from Hunter and Trotter? Yes. All right, thank you.
Ordinance is held over. 64028, consider a conditional use permit for property located at 5032 Government Boulevard.
Mr. President.
Mr. Reynolds.
I appreciate y'all going along with holding this over last week to allow for some discussions to take place regarding possible changes to this. And the only thing that I know that was really put forward as a possibility, was raised, I think, in pre-council was to grant this conditional use just temporarily for the current owner or operator of the house. Although that does satisfy one portion of the concern, it does not satisfy all of these concerns, which are converting the property to a commercial building, and traffic concerns and maybe sound and other concerns that are certainly possible. So I'm not going to support this today. I hope we vote it today, but I ask that if you vote the way that you see fit on this, that you don't have to vote one way because of me, but I will be voting against this.
Okay.
I want to add that the Planning Commission attorney got in touch with me over the weekend and yesterday.
Mr. Rossler got in touch with me yesterday and last week, and they pretty strongly take the position that these conditional use permits cannot be non-transferable. They will have to be recorded and run with the land. Their position is that there's no way this can be just personal to one person or one applicant. If it were granted, it is a form of zoning. If it were granted, it is a form of zoning. It's ultimately why the council has to make the decision on it. And if it is granted, it will have to run with the land is the conclusion they've come to.
Mr. Penn.
Thank you, Mr. President. So if it run with the land, what does it change it? I know right now it goes to, is this the property that goes to 10, right? This something,
Yeah,
okay,
from 5 to 10.
yeah, 5 to 10. Would it stays like that, or would it be changed where it could potentially?
If this conditional use is granted, then this property will, unless the zoning is ever changed again affirmatively by the council, any property owner there will be entitled to use it as a 10-child daycare, basically. I mean, that's the long and the short of it. They looked, and there was some comment solicited or taken from some people. But like I said, the planning commission position, and I see no reason to disagree with Mr. Rossler on this, is that it's a form of zoning. It's why the council has to do it. And just as much as people would like to do it, there doesn't appear to be any way under our UDC and the applicable law to make it personal to this applicant.
Mr. Carroll.
Question. Does the outside of the house change other than the driveway? Does the outside of the house change other than the driveway? No. So the only thing that we see physically change on the outside is the driveway. So, and I understand somebody mentioned a commercial hood on the inside, which only changes the size of the flue going up through the roof. So the appearance of the property is always going to be a house other than the driveway. My neighborhood, people change the driveways all the time, put horseshoe driveways out front and other things like that, which increase the size of the driveways. I mean, I don't see where we've ever stopped anyone from doing that. So I'm okay with that. Our business department allows commercial businesses to operate out of houses that have offices in them all the time. You know, when I first started, my company ran out of the office downstairs in my house, and I live smack dead in the middle of a residential neighborhood. So with people coming and going all day to pick up drawings or deliver drawings, or people delivering things. So my neighbors didn't really have a problem with that at the time, but my house nor the neighborhood ever changed other than driveway. And for those of y'all who have been to my house, you know what my driveway looks like in the rear of it. So, I mean, I just, if the integrity of the neighborhood isn't breaking down in the structure, the residential property doesn't break down and take away from the overall neighborhood, and we have a commercial building in the middle of it, I really don't see too much of a problem with it.
Vice President.
Just follow up, Michael. So the council would have to change, the council would have to change the zoning, but an applicant, of course, would have to come to the council to ask for a change of the zoning.
That's correct. I mean, leaving aside the fact the council shouldn't just willy-nilly change zoning back and forth depending on that. But yes, it would take another full application of somebody in the future, I guess, to downzone it, basically. Now, again, the CUP, this is a permitted use in this zoning district, but because of the burden it may place on surrounding properties, it requires basically an additional layer of permission from the council and is subject to the UDC. But there is, as Mr. Rossler sent me a memo, which I'll be happy to share around with you all. But it's these have to be recorded, and they do run with the land.
Turn your mic on.
And so if a conditional use is approved, whatever is allowed under a conditional use would stay with the property. And that means changing the appearance of the house, putting in parking, driveways, and that sort of thing. Because if a conditional use is approved, whatever is approved under that particular zoning permit, then somebody new who comes in could do whatever they can, whatever is allowed under that same use. Now, the lady who's applying for this may not change the appearance of the outside of her house or do anything different with parking or whatever. But if somebody new comes in with the daycare, they can then do whatever is allowed, which may be different from what may be currently there.
Subject to what the conditional use is and whatever conditions are placed on it. Again, that would all be applicable to a future applicant. Somebody could move back in there and just use it as a
As a
single family
house,
residence
yeah.
as well. But yeah, that's, I can't, I don't have in front of me what the condition, I mean, any future owner would be subject to the conditions and all of that put on it. But yes, anybody who moved in there, and unless and until there were a new application and the council changed it, would be entitled to use it as a 10-child daycare and anything that was permitted within the conditional use.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk?
Consent resolutions held over 40-93. Declare the structure at 2154 Grove Court a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Mr. Dockaball?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I just want a brief update. This is a Grove Court. It's the 2154 Grove Court. We were here about 30 days ago, and the owner did show up requesting time for a permit. Regretfully, she has run into some problems with permitting that take a little bit longer, and some of those problems are dealing with the flood zone that she's in. We do have 30 more days, and I do request we give her that additional 30 days so she can finish the process.
All right, thank you.
6390, determine an appropriation to Friends of Municipal Park, serve the public purpose and approve payment.
Mr. President,
Ms. Vice?
I know there were some questions last week. I think Kim and/or Shonda are here. If there are any other additional questions. And Kim, if you want to just come forward, is Cliff or anybody from the park here today? Okay, Cliff Kennedy and some from the park will be at our regular meeting to make some presentations as well. But Kim, if you'll just go through what this is, what it's about, why we have this contract, and how long the city and the Friends of Municipal have been working on this.
Good morning. That's really loud. This is a contract. We've been working on it for about a year. They had a contract last year, the year before, and that was $250,000. And they did some improvements over at Langen Park. This year, Municipal Park. This year, they are going to do, with the approval from council, they'll do lighting. They'll do field maintenance, meaning not maintaining it, but they'll actually replace some of the turf, restroom renovations, some sidewalks. If y'all have been out there, you'll notice that a lot of the sidewalks are cracked. They're not ADA compliant. So they're going to be putting in some of those, taking care of some of those issues, additional parking. They have a whole list of things that they'll be completing over at Municipal Park. With the funding that we'll be giving them, they will parlay that into some grants and additional funding to offset any extra costs that the funds that we'll be giving them will not cover. Other than that, it's a wonderful opportunity for them. They do have to go through permitting. They'll be working with our facilities, our REAM team, A&E, to make sure that they are in compliant with all city regulations and state regulations, and approvals will be given on any engineered drawings, things of that nature. So we have some good safeguards in place to make sure that what they're doing is in compliance with what the city desires.
Make sure y'all understand, this is municipal football and baseball.
Yes, it is
It's not
both.
Langen Park, which we are putting a whole lot of money into Langen
Yes.
Park for sure. But this is municipal football and baseball. There's also been some questions, and I addressed this last week, but it needs to be addressed again, about the registered agent and what a registered agent actually is and does. Because people have said, oh, this is coming out of Dothan, Alabama.
Yeah.
No, it's not. This is all local. So if you would explain what a registered agent is and what it does, and we made even.
I will give my best shot at it. All the board itself is actually all local. The Friends of Municipal is a local organization, local families, local individuals that their kids are playing on the teams. The registered agent, and is Ricardo here? I am so hoping I explained this correctly. They register their company with it. They get their mail, they get their invoices, things of that nature. It has nothing to do with their location. They're in Dothan, they communicate with the board, but the board is actually local with local addresses.
Yeah, Michael, you want to?
Yeah, thank you.
By law, business organizations, which means corporations, LLCs, partnerships, things of that nature, have to have filed with the Secretary of State and whatnot, a registered agent for service of process and things like that. Now, a lot of companies just list their own address and their own owners locally as their registered agent, but a lot of companies hire another company to basically do that. You see a lot of them in Montgomery, Birmingham, elsewhere. This is one that just happens to be in Dothan. It's just a service basically so that when people need to mail them official correspondence or serve them with a lawsuit or things like that, they go through the registered agent who then is in charge of getting that stuff to them and initiating that stuff. But again, this is not a Dothan company. It's a company that has purchased this service from a company in Dothan that is basically, it's not much more really than remailing.
And again, as far as the word management, that was questioned last week. What does that mean, Kim?
It's management of the resources, not the people. Management of getting the projects together, presenting them to our A&E team. That is all it is. It's management of the resources, the park. Like we have similar management teams or similar organizations that we work with, ball teams, Westside Park, whole bunch of them, and they manage the park itself. You know, they do the scheduling of the park. They do the cleaning of the bathrooms. Some of them actually mow the grass. So that doesn't really change anything. So that's what that is, all inclusive.
And I mentioned last week that doing this is very similar to what we did with the Mobile Botanical Gardens. I had provided funding out of my CIP for years, and the last time we did it with a performance contract was extra funds on top of what we had already given, with an agreement with the park to do certain things and then report back with us. And of course, they don't own the property. The city owns the property.
That is correct.
They coordinate with the botanical gardens. And when they got that funding, then they were automatically eligible to get some grant money that a couple of the foundations were holding out because they said, look, we're interested, we'd like to help, but we want to make sure the city has skin in the game before we put our money out then. And as soon as the budget was approved and the money came out, then those foundations provided the funding.
And that is what we will be doing with this.
And that's a lot of exactly what we'll be doing with this. It's a win-win for the city. It's certainly a win for municipal baseball and football, where if any of y'all have had kids or grandkids who have played out there, you know a lot of improvement needs to be made. We have done what we could over the years, basically Band-Aid approaches, but a lot of money needs to be put into this, and using this Friends of Municipal who were willing and able to do work as well as raise money. And it's not like they haven't already been reaching out.
That is correct.
They have a lot of people on standby waiting to contribute. So this will be the best way for us to move forward to get done what needs to be done at this park that is not just a District 7 park. This is a regional park. People come from all over to play at Municipal and have played there for many, many years. So thank you, Kim. Thank you, Shonda. You were really the one who started all of this with Friends of Municipal and getting them going. And if you can get by Shonda and what she requires and her documents, you've
done a good job.
That's saying a lot because she requires a lot. So thank you for doing this, and thanks, Kim, for taking the ball and running with it.
Mr. President.
Mr. Reynolds.
It is prohibited by our ordinance to spend any capital improvement money on anything other than capital projects. This may be totally fine, but it needs to be absolutely clear to the Friends of Municipal Park, the City of Mobile, anyone else, that it is prohibited by our law to spend this money on cleaning bathrooms or anything other than a capital improvement to any facility anywhere. So that's where my rub came with it, is that it needs to be absolutely crystal clear that you cannot do it if it's not capital improvement. So if the City of Mobile's given $500,000 to this contractor to do repairs or improve the capital structure of the facility, I have no objection to it. But it's very easy, and I think it's worth raising that. It's very easy for money, as we've seen in the past, to go from capital to just, we'll just use this little bit to clean the bathrooms this week. You just have to be on top of it all the time to make sure that slow creep doesn't happen. Okay? Thank you.
All right. All right, Madam Clerk.
CIP resolutions held over 08391, approved purchase order to Game Time for shade structures for Hackmeyer Park.
Turn your mic on, Mr. Day. Turn your mic on, Mr. Day.
It's in the Landfair Yester Oaks community, and it's right across from there's a little ditch that runs, and then you have the Yester Oaks apartments. There's a bridge that runs across there
That's
to
not
the park
close to
also.
Reggie's house, right?
Reggie lives over in Landfair.
Yeah,
yeah.
Reggie lives. Reggie
Okay,
lives.
I got you now.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been there.
It's a very nice park. You ought to go there sometime.
I'll go this afternoon if you'd like to join me.
Treat him for lunch, he'll go. Yeah.
Resolutions held over, 08392, approved purchase order to Beard Equipment Company for turf sprayer. 08393, approved purchase order to Insight Public Sector for annual.
Let me go back to this. That item is a CIP item. I just want to make that clear.
Blackmire.
It is,
And you ought to be the sponsor.
yeah, I was about to say you the sponsor, yeah.
That's a good question.
Be Eric. Oh, okay. 08393, approved purchase order to Insight Public Sector for annual subscription renewal for Apricot Case Management Software. 08394, approved purchase order to Jerry Pate Turf Irrigation for Azalea City Golf Course. 08395, approved purchase order to Jerry Pate Turf and Irrigation for Azalea City Golf Course. 08396, approved purchase order to Southern Earth Sciences for geotechnical services for 3 Mile Creek Trail.
Why are we doing geotech on the trail? What's happening?
Morning.
Thank you, sir. We do geotechnical testing on all of the segments of the trail. So it's like building a road. So it helps us understand the soils to determine the buildup that's needed for the asphalt and other items, any other issues that we have with drainage that needs to be fixed. So we have a properly built trail. It is designed to be driven upon. So MAs use it as their service road. We also use it for emergencies, fire trucks, ambulances, police cars.
Is this a precursor to design work?
It's in design right now, yes,
So this is for something that's in design.
correct.
What's in design?
Segment 2 of the Greenway Trail is what this is for. So that's the next section from the west side.
Now that helps.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
08397, approved purchase order to Cyrus Ford for 2 crew cab pickup trucks. 21398, authorized contract of Axon Enterprise for body camera equipment and software. 31399,
President.
Yeah, Mr.
On
Reynolds.
the body camera equipment, why are we replacing what we have? Is it worn out, the stuff we got? What's the purpose?
Yeah, this is actually for the taser upgrades. The body cameras have already been replaced. Already issuing those as we speak. So this is actually the taser side of the contract. This is an upgrade, like we spoke last week. New updated equipment with additional training, new devices.
And how many tasers is there?
You know how many
Do you know?
exactly? 451.
451. I'm just doing math here. I think it's probably around $16,000 or something like that per taser. Is that typical for a taser?
You have the devices, you have the backside of the devices, we have all new ports being installed so they can download their equipment. Everything is included. And Major Reed has the actual specifics of the monetary part of the contract. The first year, there is no additional cost the first year. They're honoring the contract we have, but there will be additional cost in the following 4 years.
In our current system or tasers that we use, they're inadequate. I guess I'm just trying to understand why.
Well, as technology
necessary.
progresses, we have to progress with the technology. And so, yes, the Taser 7 now is phasing out. If we don't move to the Taser 10 and we go ahead and issue Taser 7s to the next class and the class is coming, then eventually by the middle of this year, they're going to be obsolete and we're going to have to move forward. So it's going to save us money now not to buy additional Taser 7 stuff and then have to come along and replace them with the Taser 10, where if we get this passed, they're going to go ahead and give us the equipment now in the first year with no additional cost.
But it's typical for it's $20,000 per taser, including training and everything. That's a typical deal. That's, I guess, for 5 years. We won't have any additional costs beyond this $8.6 million in the first 5 years, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's $20,000 per taser, and that's what, $4,000 per year per taser?
Is that correct?
The taser, sir, they come with VR headsets, so that's part of the training. That's part of that cost that's incurred. They also come with master taser certifications that we can send personnel to receive training so they can come back and do the proper instruction. It also comes with what they call a halt suit, which is a suit that the officers put on during training, so they're actually shooting at a moving target versus a standing target. There's a lot that goes into the overall contract instead of just the actual taser devices. So,
Mr. President.
Done, Mr. Reynolds,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Penn, and Mr. Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was reading up on it. From my understanding, that with this particular taser, of course, it's better when you're out there facing, challenges out there, serving the community. What's the difference between this taser and can you explain that and the current taser?
yes. Yes, sir, Councilman. The drive stun feature has been removed. That's Axon's most litigated feature. So that will no longer be available to the officers, but it does provide the officers with an additional 20 feet of distance for de-escalation and standoff. Current tasers on the long-range cartridge is about 22 feet. 22 feet is not a lot of distance. That can be covered quite quickly by an individual getting to the officer. So allowing them this extra 20 plus feet allows for extra de-escalation time and allows the officer to have more options at their disposal.
Well, I thank you so much. I think it's needed. I'm glad y'all presenting this at this time. We want our officers to be trained and prepared. And from my understanding, you said each with the 451 receive a VR headset. That's correct.
There are approximately, I believe it's 26 to 28 headsets.
Okay.
They also come with tablets so the instructor can see what the officer is seeing through the headset. It comes with, they have a less lethal feature now that has basically a sidearm attached, so it will help the officers differentiate between less lethal and lethal situations and when they should react appropriately.
Okay. And this was already budgeted, correct?
Currently we're in a contract with Axon for a little over $7 million. This would be a $327,000 increase over the last 4 years of this new contract that the council has before them now. Year one, there would be no net increase cost.
Okay.
Is there more rounds also?
Sir?
More rounds?
Yes, sir. It has 10 individual cartridges. That also allows the officers to create the spread necessary. Right now, it's a prepackaged cartridge that's set at a certain degree. So the officer is trying to utilize a laser to line it up, and we have to trust that the cartridge will do it. Now this will give the officer the ability to create a small spread or a large spread if they need to.
Well, I just want to commend you. Thank you so much. Our officers need to be prepared, and we need to move with time. I mean, back in the day, people had buggy and horses. And now we have cars, so we can't stay doing the same old things. So thank you so much.
And just for your question about the training for the headsets, that's because we can only train so many at a time. And so this happens at in-service training for every officer.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes, the question I was curious is that we were buying 451 VR sets and the 451 also. Apologize, it's the same time that you guys.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk?
$31,399, authorize a grant application to the Alabama Historical Commission in support of the Historic Sites Grant.
Mr. President,
Mr. Carroll?
last week I asked what this grant was, and I was told that this grant was for either a rewrite or update of the guidelines for the MHD, for the ARB. Is that not the case here? Shayla, somebody?
It hasn't changed. It allows us to, the city match and the monies through this grant entity to hire outside consultants to assist us.
So are we rewriting the guidelines?
Up to the mic, Mr. Vico.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
We'll restate what you just said so everybody else can hear.
Through the Alabama Historical Commission, they regularly offer grant opportunities. I think the funds for this were for a program that we weren't able to complete. So we requested that these grant funds be transferred to this project. I would say more than a handful of years, specifically from the Architectural Review Board, we've been hearing that they are requesting an update to the existing guidelines. As I stated last week, there have been improvements in technology, new materials, all of this in sync with the national interior standards to ensure that we have the most up-to-date and best guidelines to serve the board as we are regularly experiencing requests to update properties within the historic districts. So I would say we are looking for the consultation from this third party to assist us. We haven't necessarily determined all of the areas that it will cover, but we feel like there's some problematic areas that we definitely want to focus our attention on. And as we mentioned last week, windows being one of the recurring items that comes up regularly in the ARB meetings, where they're struggling a little bit to assist property owners as they're trying to make those improvements to their properties.
Have we mentioned this to the MHDC at all? Because I think when we redid the ARB guidelines, we're still within their privy. Have we even talked to them?
So I did attend the MHDC commission meeting last evening. It was brought to our attention that the commission was not fully aware. I will say that we were butting up against a grant deadline, so we wanted to put this before the council to ensure that we would be eligible for the funding. But the way the new ordinance is stated, much of this work rests with and has to be coordinated with the Historic Development Commission, and I believe that was articulated at last evening's meeting.
So they're included.
They will be included.
I've learned, and you guys heard me say this to the council a bunch of times, somewhere within our guidelines, we've got to take care of demolition by neglect. So we need to figure out how to do that. And I mentioned that last week after meeting with the ARB again, because there's some things that we're losing because some owners just let it go, which then puts it into Davis' department. Then there's conflict with the ARB and the MHDC. So if you guys could also make that one of your main targets, because it goes to nuisance abatement in my district. And, you know, we have a lot of that's going on in our district. So if y'all would also make that one of your concerns.
Understood. And I would only add to that by saying the intent is to make this a transparent and inclusive process. So I imagine through stakeholder engagement and involvement that issue will probably come up with others. So this never was intended to be done in any sort of vacuum. We just needed to take this necessary step to be able to qualify for the funding.
Sounds good to me.
Ordinance is being introduced. 64029 rezone property is the rezoning on Government Street Road, Old Government Street Road. Consent resolutions being introduced. 01403 authorize appropriation agreement with Mobile County Commission for a Country Club Road Sidewalk Project. 09404 transfer funds from District 4 discretionary account to Parks and Recreation General Fund account to assist with Mims Park Field A. 37405 and 406 are recommending approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a retail beer off-premises only license to El Valle Market on Airport Boulevard, and for issuance of a restaurant retail liquor license to All the Smoked Seafood on Mount Lamar Drive. 58407 and 408 are authorizing removal of weeds and assessing costs for removal of weeds. Groups 1656 and 1651. 409, determining appropriation to Stewart Memorial Christian Methodist Episcopal Church, serves a public purpose and approve payment. CIP resolutions being introduced, 08410, approved purchase order to Arcadis for the Ethernet switches and transceivers for traffic signal upgrades, $116,888.80.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask Ms. White where these traffic signal upgrades will be.
These are primarily for the intersections around District 6, so it's Cottage Hill, University.
Greenlot, Hillcrest, Cody Road, the ones that haven't been touched by other projects. This is to get the communication to those intersections.
Okay, so it'll be just on the intersections.
Yeah, it's just intersections.
While you're here, how are we doing on the just a minute, the switches on Airport Boulevard, you know, from like Azalea Road West? Didn't we have a big project?
We did. The
Working on that?
timing's been put into we've retimed those intersections currently. We have 3 that we've ordered cameras for that we're waiting the cameras to come in. So we have 3 intersections that don't have full detection right now.
How far out does that project go west?
Airport Boulevard eventually goes all the way past Cody Road and ties into the Schillinger work that we've already done at Schillinger. Schillinger grabbed some of the intersections on Airport, like around by the airport and then going up back toward that shopping center. We grabbed all those with the Schillinger Road project. The Cody, we're not ending at Cody. We're going and grabbing the rest of the intersections past Cody. So that's how far to go. Technically, everything will be online probably by the end of this year. But we still have a project
on the airport corridor
online, which is we'll be communicating with them and we'll be retiming them. But the detection upgrades and things like that will come when the project is approved by ALDOT and we have to bid that out. But we're working with ALDOT to get those online prior to that project being finished, kind of thing. Just to get better communication to them and actually being able to control them.
Do you have any idea when
we have asked
the entire project will be complete?
We've asked our consultant to submit the plans to ALDOT so that we can bid them. So that's how close we are. We want to be bidding this summer so that that work can be done.
And how about Dolphin Street from Sage Avenue to Rogers?
We've also asked that those plans be submitted to ALDOT for approval. They are complete.
Okay, thank you.
Got a question, Jennifer, while you're there. Does any of this go toward like the early morning, late night sort of things where people complain about all the time they're going down there?
Yeah, eventually we'll fix all the detection. Those are detection problems they're seeing. We'll fix all the detection. We actually, in the airport project, want to add some flashing yellow arrows to the intersections so that we can get more green, get more left turns across the intersections. But yes, it'll address some of that early morning and late night stuff that you see. During peak hours, you don't notice that the detection is not completely working, but during the off hours, that's when you notice that stuff when the traffic volumes are much lighter.
And just to follow up, you mentioned cameras. What do these cameras detect?
They detect strictly the traffic.
Right.
They are not recording video. There's no video recorded. Nobody's watching them. The cameras we use to watch the intersections are actually pan tilt zoom cameras that are put down the corridor. We can see several intersections at once so that we actually see flow of traffic. We are also not recording videos on those cameras though.
And nobody's taking pictures.
Nobody's taking pictures of anything, no.
Car tags, any of that sort of thing.
No.
That's what gets confusing.
Not in traffic engineering.
People see cameras and they automatically think they're the ones that take the video or the picture of somebody's license.
Yeah, we get contacted with people that have had accidents thinking we have video of their accident, but we're not recording anything. And we don't even use cameras everywhere. We're still using loops in some locations because not always is the camera the best option. Dolphin Street's one of them where we have issues with cameras because of the low trees. Midtown has problems with cameras because of low trees. And radar does not work where there's tree coverage and a tree canopy. So we have to go back to the in-ground applications for those.
Mr. Woods? Thanks again for bringing all this up to speed. So this is does this take care of that full Green-Light corridor, I guess, from Cody
Yeah, this
all
is
the way to
part of it.
University?
We've already got like the fiber optic connections. We worked with Paul Clark and our IT department to get those. They're already made up. So this will actually be the switches that connects it to the controllers.
So like right now, I did see, I guess this week, I saw detection going down after the repaving.
That's part of, after the resurfacing, yes.
And then so we got the guts for the boxes either ordered or here. And then this is kind of the final phase of making it all tie in, I guess.
Trying to tie it all together, yes.
And then that we had that discussion, I guess, maybe about 2 weeks ago about how intelligent design and how be able to communicate and go in and look and see in real time. This is just kind of that final step of tying it in and then eventually tying back to ALDOT, I guess.
ALDOT in the city, yeah, we share that service.
Awesome. Okay. And if possible, because I believe this was a CIP project for District 6 for 2024, I'd like to be added as a sponsor too, if that's okay. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Carroll? Did you have some?
No, sir.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Resolutions being introduced. 01411, authorized agreement with Mobile County Commission for county paving city segments, Unicorn.
Question.
Ms. Gregory?
Where all is this going to be, the agreement with the county on the paving? Is that a Nick question? The agreement with the county on paving city segments?
What this is
Turn on your mic.
What this is that little rectangle out in the west part of the city that's unincorporated still, north of Airport Boulevard. The county reached out to us. They're going to be paving those streets, but the actual limits of it stop short of the intersections. So they offered to the city to pave the balance of those things. So that's what this is.
08412, approved purchase order to Giles for ballistic body armor and helmets for Mobile Fire and Rescue Department, $116,853. 08413, approved purchase order to SHI International for annual subscription renewal for rock solid citizen engagement software, $54,485.78. 09414, transfer funds from Public Works Executive Administration to Capital Project Fund for citywide resilience assessment and plan, $40,000.
Mr. President,
Mr. Reynolds?
this citywide resilience assessment and plan, I thought that was funded fully. What's this 40,000 for?
It was fully funded, but we exceeded our timeline. We exceeded our timeline by about 6 months in finishing up the assessment. The assessment was originally scheduled to be about 35 pages. It's 140 pages. We're behind 2 months now on the plan, but hopefully we'll get that done in time. So our new timeline is August for completion. Thank you.
21415, authorized contract with Bard and Associates for the cruise terminal parking garage structural inspection and design services for repairs, $20,000. 21416, authorized contract with H&H Electrical for electrical upgrades and lighting at Copeland Cox Tennis Center, $417,940.
Mr. President,
Ms. Gregory?
I'm excited to see this, but I wondered if we could get someone just to give us a little bit more detail on what all's going on at Copeland Cox with the lights and how long it's going to take.
Certainly. Good morning. This is actually going to increase the electrical supply to the park so they can have additional fans and tents. If you've ever been there in July and you've got thousands of people and there's no tents in that main corridor, this will allow for tents to be enclosed with AC. We're excited about that. And this is going to replace all the lights that have not been previously replaced, as well as the poles that were deemed to be in failure. So this will replace all of the lights. Gina, you have paid for the actual equipment, and this will be for the installation as well as the electrical upgrades that are needed.
This is great news for
Yes, ma'am.
Copeland Cox and all of the tournaments, especially in the spring and summer months. Okay, thanks.
Madam Clerk.
25417, grant a permanent easement to Alabama Power to provide underground service to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers building, parking deck, and future arena. Call for public hearings, 41418, call for public hearing to consider the application of NASA Pope for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to operate a non-emergency medical transport service scheduled May 21st. Announcements.
Mr. President.
Go ahead, Mr. Woods.
I obviously was a little late coming in this morning, and I did want to take a moment. I had the opportunity this morning to go to the Academy of Traffic Training. It's kind of tucked away back over behind Fort Whiting, and what that is that's a collaboration effort of the Mobile County Public School System and other school systems in our area, and then also the State Board of Education. Basically kind of what they do is they go in and they bring high school juniors and high school seniors and teach them a trade craft. And they had the unique opportunity today of doing signing day. So I want to say congratulations. There's numerous folks from the Mobile County Public School System, lots of kids, both boys and girls from Murphy and Williamson, and they signed on today with local companies ranging from electrical to framing to air conditioning to all kinds of stuff, welding. So I just wanted to take a moment to tell them congratulations. And that's really unique, especially as Mobile's growing. We see industry coming in. And it is hard to find these days, hard to find people to work in the trade, skills, craft. I know with an issue we dealt with at work a couple of weeks ago that, an electrical issue that really was a big issue. And it took about a week to get somebody to come out just because of the amount of work that's going on. So did want to take a moment to tell them congratulations. And I'm going to mention that in my announcements at council. But just wanted to shower some congratulations on them today as they signed. Thank you. I think there was close. I didn't get to stay the whole time, but there was close to right around about 35, I believe. So, and they're entering the workforce. They got their hard hats and they're ready to go to work. So.
Vice President.
Sorry about that. Mayor, can you give us an update on what is happening with Amtrak? There were some media reports this morning. What it made it sound like was that Amtrak is full speed ahead coming to Mobile anytime now because a platform has been approved, but that's not quite where we are. So if you can explain that, that'd be great.
I may let Jim help me with this, but so there's still two contracts that have got to come to the city council to be approved. The progress that has been made recently is that the CSX Railroad and the port are in concurrence with Amtrak, the city going ahead, thinking that all the boxes have been checked. So we had a meeting with the port, with CSX and Amtrak probably 10 days ago. And so the legal team of Amtrak and the city are still working out their agreements. And the box that's got to be checked really has to do with what happens with Amtrak trying to go north of Mobile. And that's not been resolved yet, but that will be resolved and probably coming to the city council maybe next week or the following week for y'all's consideration. I mean, the entire contract and the agreement.
Ms. Gregory. Mr. Dave and Mr.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that update, Mr. Mayor. I would say that the only correction I would make is there's more than one box to be checked.
Yeah, and one of those boxes has to do with what is the ongoing expense expected from the city. That is the one that I think that has been nailed down. That's been done. And from our perspective, that it's something that we can live with. And it's a closed loop on that. It's not open-ended like it was there for a while.
Okay. Well, I would just like to ask, so the two items I think that have to come before the city council are the lease agreement and then any kind of financial arrangements.
Correct.
Okay. I think it would be very, very helpful to the citizens of Mobile if when these contemporaneously with these items coming before us, that the people from the Southern Rail Commission and Amtrak could come back and speak to the city council and give the city council an opportunity to ask a number of detailed questions having to do with this proposal, what the short and long-term commitment from the city is, and so forth. I'd like to know, any number of questions like, what do they expect with respect to the ridership? What's going to be the economic impact to the city of Mobile? What kind of subsidy there is from how much of the operating costs the riders are going to pay, whether similar subsidies are offered in other parts of the country. There's a lot of questions that I think need to be answered for the citizens of Mobile before the city council acts.
Correct. And we'll be glad to arrange that meeting. There's a couple of things that we were trying to nail down that we felt before we could even answer some of those questions had to do with the what is the cost to the city, and how do we make sure that doesn't encumber the port. And with the Chrissy grant that's been given to this project and the railroad siding that will be built starting at about GulfQuest to the terminal. Those to us were hurdles. If we couldn't even get over those, we weren't sure we could even address the other issues. So now that those have been addressed, we absolutely can get them to come in and answer the other questions. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Reynolds, did you have?
Can I leave anything?
Mr. Carroll, did you have something?
No, something else.
Want to go ahead?
Yeah. I smiled when he said. I smiled when he said Chrissy. I smiled when you said Chrissy. I always thought that was a dessert at Ruth Chris. Over the last week, I've had 3 or 4 conversations with the chief of staff, Nick Amberger, and John. Is that right? Or Robert? I can't remember the names. It's come to my attention that in 2017, the council made some type of decision to allow the executive director to divert CIP residuals to other projects without council approval. And I want to take a look into that because there's been monies diverted that I thought were going to other places that went to projects, I think, without me knowing. And I think, Jim, if I'm wrong, you told me that Flo Kessler also had a statement to this in 2017. So that, in my mind, kind of takes complete control away from the council, especially, or the council person of that district with CIP. And I've had a major disbursement of funds that I was not expecting to come to my attention over the last week. So if we can look into that, Mr. President, and if you would.
Yeah, I don't remember anything like that. So, yeah.
This has to do with CIP.
I mean, I hear you, but I mean, Jim, this is something I want to talk to you guys about before I get into it, because I don't, I wasn't here in 2017. I want to get to the truth and the details before we start having big open conversations. And right now I'm asking for a meeting and a conversation to be set up. So I completely understand what's going on, because I mean, as you understood yesterday, I was completely kind of agitated based on what we're trying to do going down the road and where those funds are and what happened to them. So, Mr. President, if you could set up some time where we can have that conversation.
Yeah, well, I asked the clerk to, because she don't remember either, but it's to look into that and see that in the resolution or ordinance that being created, but I don't remember anything like that. Barbara?
Yeah, I don't think it was council action. It wasn't a resolution or an ordinance, anything like that. It was a legal opinion that contingency funds could be used to shore up projects that had cost overruns. And so that's approved projects by the council that had cost overruns. They reach into the contingency and put it into those projects. And then when there's excess money after the project has been closed, those funds flow back to the contingency of the different districts.
I think we need a CIP meeting.
Yeah.
Josh, Josh, if you can just go ahead and get that arranged, because like I said, that didn't come before council. Vice President?
Yeah, so I think just as long as if the funds were in the specific district CIP, they flow back to the specific district CIP. Anytime the projects are overrunning or we need some more funds for whatever project, generally it's with Nick's department, and we get with him, and if there's any contingency, we generally work together to take the contingency to shore up the project. I mean, that's the way I've certainly done it in the past. They don't just reach out and take contingency and put it in it without notifying anybody.
Well, that's kind of the problem I've got right now. I hear you. Yeah, I've asked for it to be replaced, but I think that answer has been over and over. We're not doing that, or I don't think we can do that. But let's talk about that. You know what I mean? I think, as we said yesterday, let's please find a way to work that out.
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
them right because Jim just told you again.
Anything else from this council? I know we was talking about the Amtrak with tourism. I was watching Channel 5 news on last evening or yesterday evening, and they was talking about Pensacola and their Civic Center that they're pumping about $10 million into theirs to be competitive to Mobile. Yeah, so can we just get an update of where we at with the Civic Center?
What we'd like to do at this time is ask Sam Matheny to actually give a presentation to the city council. It may take 25 minutes or so, but he'll give you all an update if we can take the time to do that. Can we do the picture right before?
Yeah,
the
we could do
meeting?
a picture right before council meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll break long enough to go down and get a picture. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sam?
And the announcement from the administration while we waiting on him. Anything else from the administration? All right, just wait. Yeah, they wanted to give us some updates on.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so kind of the status on the program, just real quickly, since we've got more going on than just the Civic Center on the USACE building, just to bring everybody up. That building is topped out. They're now putting in windows and working on their interior framing and mechanical work.
What building?
That the Corps of Engineers office building.
You said it was topped out?
It is topped out,
I
yes.
didn't see a tree up there, and you didn't invite me to the top out party.
That was the Corps' party, but they did have a top out ceremony.
I'm upset.
So then on the parking facility, we're moving along well there. The foundation piles are completed. Pile caps for the south half are completed, and we're starting to form and for columns and ramp walls for the first, second level of the deck. And then the utility contractors are starting to put in their under slab utilities. So you'll start seeing more coming out of the ground on the parking deck.
What's the completion date on the parking?
The parking deck, they're a little bit behind right now, so we're trying to recover that time, but it'll be, we're trying to make January. But the core building, they'll probably be moving in February, March. So we've got some float there in the schedule, but we're trying not to take it up yet. Okay. So with that being said, on the Civic Center, we just kind of put kind of an update presentation together, kind of show where we're at. The AE team, they're moving forward. They're still on schedule to get a 60% design ready to brief you guys in July for the vote for the to coincide with the demolition. So we'll just run through this real quick. So this is kind of what our new layout looks like now. So we've got the final floor plans done and kind of how we're spotting the new Civic Center. The loading docks will be on the side between the parking garage and the Civic Center coming off of Claiborne Street. We've oriented the building now so the front is on this new square and promenade and pedestrian area. And then, of course, when we do the Civic Center, we'll construct that square and we'll put in the utility infrastructure for the other developments, the main trunk lines, so we don't have to come back and tear anything up that we build with the Civic Center when the other development eventually progresses. One of the items on the agenda was a power easement, which is associated with that so Alabama Power can come up from Canal Street. They'll be underground, but they'll come from Canal Street up past the core building, turn it to the east to the corner of the parking deck, and then they'll turn it to the north and parallel the parking deck with that easement, and it will dead end basically right at the north end of the parking deck, so it's there and ready for the Civic Center. This is kind of an enlargement, kind of show you the traffic. The traffic for the loading docks is modeled, for WB 67, which is an ALDOT designation, but that's basically a 53-foot semi truck with the tractor. And then, so we model the turning radius to make sure we can get those in there. You can kind of see to the left of those trash docks, that's where trash and recycle compactors will go, because we'll put the back of house kitchens and everything will be on this side of the facility. And then there'll be one loading dock that's actually a drive-through, so shows can drive a truck all the way into the arena floor to unload or set things up if they come as part of a built into a trailer. And then along with this, we'll have a little bit of parking in that area. And this is kind of where we're at with the floor plan. This is the geometry, all the column lines that the structural engineers have set up, along with, of course, the architects. Apologize for the clarity, but the scale is just such, you can't really read it here, but it's going to be divided into, for design, it's divided into quadrants, which is that square right in the middle. So you got A, B, C, D. That's how all the drawings will be set up, on a quadrant system. This is the floor plan. This is what it will look like at the ground level. Still pulling in the grand hall. Some of this you've seen before. We've refined it. Like the kitchen is now on the south side, which makes that much easier for OVG to operate the facility with all that back of house stuff on the south end. And then around on the east side of it is where you would have like locker rooms and dressing rooms and whatnot for performers and sports teams. The one thing we've done here is you can see the visiting team lockers. We've set up 3 locker rooms there. And the intent of that is so if there's a tournament, such as an NCAA tournament, you can put four teams in the facility all at the same time. And then the ballrooms, of course, they kind of stay, the same arrangement that you've already seen. Again, this is just kind of give you an idea of how it could lay out for Mardi Gras without the use of the arena floor, with the various ballrooms, which will have partitions, movable partitions, so we can go, from small to expanded to the whole, kind of the whole area. And this is a representation, because we talked before about having the grand hall be kind of some overflow space for some of the potential things that are going to get displaced by the demolition of the theater. So this just kind of two ways to arrange that to give you a visual, but this seat about 1,000 people. I mean, it won't be a full theater quality, but a lot of the performances that were in the theater could be done in the grand hall as well as some of the smaller ones in some of the opened up ballrooms.
What type of seating was that also?
That would just be
Is it flat or is it tiered?
No, that would just be individual chair seating. It could be placed when needed and then stored when not in use. Yes.
When you say it won't be necessarily theater quality, does that mean audio, lights?
Well, it'll be a little bit on the audio. I mean, the lighting can be worked out. The biggest issue with this is it's in the grand hall, so that back wall is all glass. So the lighting is going to be something we've got to get figured out to be able to block, if it's an afternoon or early evening event, that, the sun's not coming through that grand hall curtain wall and blinding everything out.
So I was thinking the sound would be probably a bigger issue.
It will be, and we're not that far along with it yet to address those specific issues.
We still, unless we do now during all this design phase, we're not going to have a true performing arts theater in Mobile. That's a city.
Right, and I wouldn't call this a true performing arts theater.
But as long as
It can accommodate a lot of that. Yeah. And we will, take into the acoustics and the lighting and everything as we advance the design.
Hey Sam, just real quick on the grand hall, will there be points of rigging in there for production and everything, or would that be kind of you bring your own production in and set it up? I guess will you be able to fly production in the grand hall?
You're kind of getting into operations there, and that's not my job. I mean, that'd be a question for OVG.
Does it have the capacity?
Will there be points for rigging, just like in the big arena? Obviously, structurally, there's points. Will this be like a drop ceiling per se, or will this?
Oh, okay. You're rigging. We don't have the ceilings designed in there yet. In fact, we have a meeting with the designers next week specifically to start talking about those finishes for ceilings and other areas. So we just haven't got to that point yet. But it will be set up so you could hang certain, lighting and acoustics and stuff in there.
Sam, on the glass, I know in some other states further west in here, we've used a retractable midnight shading in blinds that black out the room period to help with the light. Can that be incorporated into the design?
Possibly, yeah. And that's a cost issue, of course. We've got to look at that and what we can do with, so we can stay in budget. So, all right. Okay, so then this is the second level. I apologize, this slide's labeled premium. This is the main concourse level. But so again, the column line grid layouts that all the engineers and designers are working off of. This shows your terraces on the three corners, which is the cross-hatched area. Those are your outdoor terraces. And this is kind of what it lays out like from the inside, so you've got a combination of all your dark blue shaded areas. Those are restrooms, or whether that be public or the private family handicap and whatnot. But that's your restroom facilities. And then the purple, kind of hard to discern, but the purple, those are your market and concession areas. And then that orangey reddish area, that's your club level. So this kind of illustrates a little better, but as the architects are working through this, of course they have to have a certain ratio of square foot per patron for restrooms and the other amenities. So on the design as we have it now, we've got a 1.42 square foot per patron. That's actually a little bit higher than most facilities of this type, so that's good. It's a little more restroom space than what's actually required, which is really just kind of making better use of the space. And then this is the same thing for concessions, 1.62 square feet per patron. That's about average of other similar facilities. Okay, and then this is the premium level, which is where the suites and loge boxes and everything would be. So the yellow, well, let's do it like this. So the yellow would be your individual suites, whereas the reddish orange area, that's your loge club, where you'd have seating around the outside of that, and some private concessions and bars and whatnot at this level. So, and then just to kind of give you an idea of what that would look like. So in the loge club area, which is the red there around the end of the arena, this is sort of what loge would look like. It's premium seating, but it's not necessarily private. And then this would be a large suite configuration. Now these are not exact yet. They'll be close to this, but in a suite, basically these are set up for companies or individuals to have their own private section for events, and in those you typically get like a wet bar and some hot plates for heating up food and whatnot. So it's kind of a more of a private experience, although it's still open in the front to the arena. And this is just an example of a smaller suite. So we're kind of architects. The way the architects are doing this, they're going to put a couple of different sizes in there to accommodate different groups and folks that want to buy suites. So the diagrams, this is kind of a concept to show you what it's going to look like with all the rigging in the ceiling and the catwalk up above for of course, all the rigging backstage folks to work to get everything ready. The intention is to put a big video board at the end of the show, although we're also looking at the potential of doing a center hung scoreboard arrangement. This arrangement with the big video boards seems to be more popular these days than a center hung, but they have their drawbacks and their pluses. Drawback is they're very expensive, but that's what we're working towards right now.
Sam,
Yes.
where would the, and you might have already hit it, and I might just, the wheelchair access in that seating chart?
Yeah, if you look, well, that'll be on these seating charts. So your wheelchair access are these areas right here that don't show seats that are all around the arena. That's your ADA seating at that level. Of course, there'll be access to the floor as well. But we're making sure we meet the ADA requirements. This is a typical bowl seating arrangement for a center stage event. So you can kind of see on the left with the club different seating, the bunker club, that's the red area to the bottom of that slide. Club seats are on the other side in the red, and then the suites, of course, are on the right. They're up at the top, with the loge and the suites and VIP. And then you can kind of see where at that level, we've got 71, slots for ADA.
Is that the normal for this size arena?
Yeah, we're meeting the ADA requirement. I don't know the exact number, but the architects are meeting those requirements. In fact, we're designing for the ADA standard update, which is supposed to come out in the next year, 2 years. We're working to that standard.
With that standard. Okay. Thank you.
So you can see this seating arrangement here for a center stage concert is where you'll get the most people in the arena, approximately 10,000. Now this is another setup with an end stage, which could have variations, but basically in this scenario, you'd back drape all those seats behind the stage so they wouldn't be sold for an event that was an end stage. So your total seating count drops to about 9,000.
Running a little short on time.
Okay. So then that's just at your event level. Just these slides kind of show how something would operate, your center stage with your support areas. And then this is, if you'd had a court sport like basketball, we'll supply all this, as we move forward, and how that would operate for the teams.
How many slides do you have?
This is basically it. So
The update on the east elevation. Exterior.
the east, they're still working on the elevations. We've got renderings that we're looking at that are not ready to share yet.
Thank you, Sam.
Another question. All right, council, let's start getting at 10:45.
Where's the picture?
In there. Let's meet down at 10:40.
We're going right now?
Yeah, 10:40. We'll take pictures at 10:45.
So what?
What is happening with the thing? Okay.